must be an ACE savings available through the end of the month.
The computer store at two great locations, 4812 139.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner.
And now, here's
Zev Brenner, for you to repress someone who was rescinded by Bezin in front of his home. In fact, he's suing a whole group of rabbis, including and community leaders. With us tonight is Keshet, Starr, Esquire, the CEO of the organization for the resolution of the Agunot Jewish divorce refusal on a case-by-case basis worldwide. We thank both of you for joining us on the broadcast. Let me first begin with you, Dibo. So what's going on? For 17 years, you haven't given your wife a get, but you actually did it twice and rescinded by the court of Jewish law. But why were you hesitant to give your wife a Jewish divorce? Say it again.
1 second, I have some problem with a voice. Just give me a second, let me fix it. You hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now
1 second, please.
Okay. And we're going to take your phone calls in a little while, by the way. If you want to email us in the interim, it's zevbrenner@gmail.com. That's zevbrenner@gmail.com. Kesha, how long has the ORA organization been around?
We actually started as a student group in 2002 and have really grown and expanded since then.
And how large is ORA
We are
today?
now 8 full-time staff members and multiple program areas, and thank God have a nationally.
Okay. Dibo, how is your voice connection now?
I think much better if you hear me good.
Now I hear you well as well. So just getting back to my question to you. So what's been going on over the last 17 years that there was an issue why you wouldn't give your wife a Jewish divorce a get?
First of all, it wasn't 17 years. My divorce was finished in 2013, which is make it from 2013 until now less than 9 years.
Okay.
Established 2006, January 19, 2006.
Okay. So whether it's 9 years or 7 years, it's still a long period of time. So why did you decide not to give your wife a divorce?
I didn't decide. My first wife took me to Bezin, and Bezin ruled that she's not entitled to receive a get.
On what grounds?
She's rebellious. She's not coming to Bezin, and she make a mockery from the Bezin. And also I have a 4 siruvim against her from multiple Bete Din. And even I tried to reach the RCA, and they never want to help me. And they always ignore me.
So wait,
And
didn't you give your wife a get that was taken back by the courts?
no. I give a get despite all the fact. She mentioned that I will never give her a get. And I went and I did a get in August 31st, 2009 by Rabbi Lichter. And I gave it to her. In fact, they accepted, and they give her heter nesuin from Rabbi Greenblatt from Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee.
Advertisement.
I'm sorry?
Records therein do not
Hello?
necessarily reflect those of 620
Just 1 moment.
WSNR or if
This is AM 620 WSNR.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have multiple Beit Din get involved with the case, and she never attended to any of the Bezin. That's the base. And in fact, she summoned me to Bezin, and they ruled against her not to give her a get. In fact, I did a get in 2009, and she refused to come to the Torah. That's the basic. So therefore, to be considered withholding a get, you have to have a ground, which is, upon being ordered to grant one by a Bezin.
Why wouldn't she go to a Bezin?
That's a question to ask her, because her rabbi told her that I don't belong to a Bezin. I have a letter I just discovered recently from her rabbi here. His name is Soli Maslitin, the Rav of Ahiezer. And I'll read it to you. Okay, please take your time. Okay, Lechbod Harav Olt, Rabbi Pinchas Olt. This is a Rav of Bet Yosef Rabbinical Court. Please take your time to read facts material. At present time, our Rabbanim of our Kahal are on fire about what happened. Dibo remarried 2 weeks ago with no heter, according to him. And now his second wife.
Because you're remarried, okay.
And now his second wife demanding a get, which is I never refuse to give her a get. And he mentioned all this could be avoided with one simple phone call. He asking the Bezdin to give him a call to take his approval about the siruv that they issue against her. So, and he called me Mukhzak Shakran, Mukhzak Zaifan, who has absolutely no place in a Bezdin. That was, please call me, and his number 917-941-6169. This letter was faxed December 12, 2010, 12 years ago.
So are you saying that you want to give your wife a Jewish divorce? You're ready to give her a get? Is that what you're saying?
I hold a get in a Bezdin, and she refused to come. There's outstanding issue, and she refusing. And
What is the outstanding issue?
the outstanding issue, she alienated my children. She arrested me. She caused me punitive damages. She did a lot of damage.
You arrested
And,
9 times, so you,
9 times, correct. 9 times falsely for baseless. They use as a tactic. This is a tactic to be used by secular lawyer, and her lawyer unfortunately became a judge, and he twisted all the law in order to screw me. That's what they use.
so let me ask you this. So you have a get issue over here. So you're saying that you would give a divorce a get if
she come to the Torah, if she act like Jewish person.
okay, and she is not gone to, but she did receive a get from a Bezdin, which was later rescinded. So there
No,
were-
no, no. What happened? This is, usually I don't like to talk about this subject unless to go to a specialist Bezdin that they deal with all this issue. On March 14, 2021, officiate another get by Rabbi Rabinowitz, one of the Rabbi Eliashiv closest student. He issued a get, and then he nulled and voided. In the same Bezdin, which has never happened in the history, the same Bezdin issue officiate the get, retract from the get.
because they said you were coerced. Is that what the issue is?
No, in addition, they see all the document that I have from multiple Beddin. I dealt with a 4 Bete Din, so it's not 1, not 2, 4. I could name them as a Geonim.
What's the
And-
reason why, but you're saying that the Bezdin rescinded the get or took it away?
That's because the way the circumstances, I fax it to you, I email it to you.
Yeah, I'm
And you could read-
tell our audience what,
Because 1,000 people came to my house between 8:30 p.m. after, like hours, without any Bezdin letter, without any siruf.
that's out your house. There were.
Yes, it's a riot. Yeah, and the article, which is, what's his name? Jacob Goldstein, wrote about a dozen or 2 dozen, really about 1,000 people. They came, they throw eggs, they throw a stone on my house. I called the police didn't do nothing. And this has happened for two nights.
What would that have to do with the getting the divorce, the get?
I'm sorry, what?
What's the connection between that and having the get taken back by the Bezdin, in your opinion? And then-
Because that's considered a coercion get, 100%.
But you-
Friend,
But you gave the get after the demonstration. Is that the fact?
correct.
You gave the get because of the demonstration, or you gave it because you just wanted to give a get?
No, I gave it because of the demonstration, and they arrested me as well.
But they arrested had to do with your second wife was the arrest.
Correct. They use yes, correct. They use a recording, and it's an old tactic to make me look bad, to make me look I'm the bad one. The truth is, I did everything according to Jewish law, and she violated everything. And seems like every Jewish people, they supporting anybody violate the law. I believe the Gittin law is not exist in Jewish world. Nobody ask about it. Nobody teach it. Nobody talk about it.
We have qualified rebuttal. Let me turn to Keshet Starr, the head of ORA. You've been listening to our conversation. I'd like to get your input.
Absolutely. What I will say, and again, not commenting on this particular case in too much detail, But what we know about get refusal and what we see day after day in the cases we work on at ORA is that the get is really about control. And people hold on to the get because the get provides an opportunity to control the other person and to control the process. So if there's a feeling that, oh, you're, arresting me and you shouldn't, or you're taking my kids, you're doing this, you're doing that, really there are neutral third parties, Batei Din and courts, that can make decisions on those matters and to use the get as leverage to sort of decide how the larger divorce is going to go is a really dangerous precedent. And so just to realize that this is about control. And the other thing I'll say just about demonstrations, it is very important when you're planning, if you're planning a demonstration for anything, to do it legally, to do it appropriately, but that in the United States, we have a First Amendment that gives us the right to gather and to protest and to stand up for what we believe in. And it's generally done legally and properly. And it's a really important way for communities to show that we care about treating people in a respectful way. And if someone's not doing that, you can't be part of our community, not unless you change that behavior. So demonstrations, again, are not these sort of crazy scenes. For the most part, they do vary, but certainly ORA demonstrations are done in full consultation with law enforcement. And they're a really important expression of our First Amendment rights to stand up for what we see as a perversion of Judaism and of Torah values.
Now, demonstrations, from what I understand, can you give us a better idea? Are they helpful in getting a husband to give a get in the demonstrations that, not only in this case, but there are other cases where demonstrations have taken place? Have they been a tool to make sure that a get does happen?
Absolutely. It has to be the right strategy for the case. It's not right for every case, but we have seen many, many cases where a demonstration is extremely impactful. Just knowing that a demonstration is coming is often what brings people to the table and allows the get to be resolved without it needing to get to that stage. So it really makes a difference because it's uncomfortable. And, we are a close-knit community. It's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable, and a lot of people will change their behavior in order to avoid it.
So Jeff, are you saying that the demonstration you were going to give a get, but then you changed your mind? So give us.
No. Let me just add to what she said. What Keshet said. What she said about control. What control about starting from the wife, controlling by local rabbi. They have no idea about the halachos. Number one, going to be arrested, to abuse the domestic violence law, arresting the husband, strip him of his children, obtain order protection, using the ACS, all fraudulent, without any basis. And this is not a control. Jewish law is forbidden Jews to go to a secular court. And I believe Keshet is a religious person. She might look like she's doing a mitzvah. She worked for a high salary by RCA, and I don't blame her. But if you want to talk about impartial, אסור לדון בפני דיני עובדי כוכבים ובערכאות שלהם. So did any woman has permission to sue her husband in a secular court? That's a question. If you want, I feel bad for a lot of women, of course, but most of women, the majority of women, they will win more because they see a lot of support starting from police department to DA to ACS to all the nonsense, holding a man, stripping him all his right, and then they come give her the get. The get, according to Jewish law, koret lekol davar. That's mean you have to.
All right, but let me ask you a question. You were arrested after the demonstration, but that was because of a complaint of your second wife. So are you blaming the demonstrators for your arrest when it was your
100%? A person from Shomrim, he used a recording for over 2 years. Is a domestic conversation. I was screaming and yelling. I was under a lot of stress because of one of rabbi, his name's Rabbi Yisraeli, sent me a mafia guy to threaten me about the get because the Israeli government and the Israeli rabbinate involved in this case. And they threatened me, with violence. And it caused me a lot of stress with a lot of things with my wife. And that's why I have to scream and yell. And they use that recording. They went after my wife, technically, to her parents' house. And you know, the funny part, when I read was an article, people, they tried to convince me. What about you convince Miss Ballas to come to Beit Din? What about her rabbi to convince her to come to Beit Din? And if she's so true, if she's so innocent and she 100%, why didn't it come to Beit Din?
Let me ask you a question. Why are so many rabbis and others supportive? And you have a lawsuit, I'd like you to comment, against Rabbi Eli Mansour, and you have police officials, and you have Heshi Tischler and Amber Adler, and Rabbi Uziel Admoni, and a whole bunch of other people that you are suing. So why are you suing them?
Why I'm suing them? Let's not talk about the rabbi, because
Name on the affidavit.
yes,
If
correct.
I can also jump in for 1 minute, I think it's ironic that this lawsuit is taking place in a secular court and not in a Beit Din. So I think this is a good example about we use Jewish law when it's convenient.
Beautiful, Miss. Let me tell you.
And I'll also just
Hold
note
on.
as well, just
Let
to
Keshet finish.
clarify.
I'll let you respond.
Yes,
Go ahead.
please.
Go ahead, Keshet.
Let me respond to Keshet. כל היורדים לגיהינום עולים, חוץ משלושה שיורדים ואין עולים, ואלו הן, הבעל אשת איש, והמלבין פני חברו ברבים, והמכנה שם רע לחברו. And in Jewish law, there is no character. They defame my name. And אין להם חלק לעולם הבא. That's it. There's no Beit Din who could rule about it. And by the way, I have a permission from a great Rav to sue these people.
But don't you need permission from a Bezdin, not a Rav?
It's a Bezdin. It's a Bezdin. Of course, a Bezdin. I have a permission. Of course. Yes, of course.
Keshet, your response.
And by the way, let me add. I called Rabbi Eli Mansour on December 29, 2021 at 8:52 a.m. Actually, he called me. We have a conversation about 15 minutes and 40 seconds. And he admitted to me that he doesn't know anything about Halachot Gittin. And he was mistaken. I asked him, are you willing to put it in writing? He say no. So now he realized that he did mistake, and I don't blame him for making mistake, but you know, keeping this way is not correcting anything. And let me add one more thing. Dealing in a secular court is not convincing man to give a get. You act like a Jew, you get your get like a Jew. Simple.
Let me ask this question as we break, Dibo. So what are your terms? Let's get down to a practical situation. What are your terms for giving your wife a get?
Right? There's no term. I give her all, I didn't have no term. I asked her to come to Beit Din. Okay. And by the way, let me add one thing.
Okay.
In 2010, Sephardic rabbi, rabbinical council claimed, first, my wife, when she went on live, she claimed I have a siruv against me. I have absolutely no siruv against me. That's one. Number two, she claimed that Sephardic council drafted binding arbitration and Zabla, in the term of Zabla. And they choose Rabbi, let me see, I remember his name. His name is...
Whatever, we're going to break. So my question to you, again, I want to reiterate. So today, so we're saying whatever happened in the past, what will it take for you, Dibo, to say, I'm going to give my wife, Eva Ballas, a get? What has to be done? Let's say she goes to Beit Din. What happens? You're ready to write a get right now out of free will?
If she comes, no. Right now, she did a lot of damage to me. She caused me a lot of damage.
But what are your terms?
My term, if she willing to come to Beit Din, I'm willing to come to Beit Din. Whatever's a Beit Din psak, I will abide and I will do.
Okay, so you're ready to write out a divorce if a Beit Din of both your choosings, you're ready to write a divorce.
I was ready on August 31st, 2009. I gave her a get and I hold it in the Beit Din, and she refused to go to accept it.
Why did she refuse? In your opinion, why did she refuse?
That you ask her rabbi, Soli Maslaton.
Okay, go ahead, Keshet.
I'll just say many get refusers say the same thing. And also, it's so important for listeners to realize not all Bate Din or religious courts are created equal. Anyone can open a Beit Din. They are not all legitimate. They are not all responsible. So you really have to know who you're dealing with. And it can seem even, a Beit Din says this, a Beit Din says that, doesn't mean that they're equally weighted, responsible, legitimate, and knowledgeable Bate Din.
Could I jump in to answer you back, please?
Right, because that's a legitimate thing that I hear that a lot.
No. Let me add. I think she's talking about her bid in RCA, Rabbinical Council of America.
I just want to clarify, I don't work for the RCA. I'm not affiliated.
It doesn't
with the
matter.
Beit Din. That's,
Hold on.
So-
You said before that she works for the RCA, so she's going to clarify. Go ahead.
yeah, again,
Okay.
I don't want for the RCA, that we're not
No.
affiliated
Hold
organizations.
on. Go ahead, Keshet. Yes.
Yeah. So again, we're not affiliated organizations. We're an independent advocacy organization that works to make sure that Jewish divorce is fair and that it's never used as a form of abuse or extortion or control, a lot of which I'm hearing tonight, which is always interesting and inspiring in a strange way.
Okay, that's according to you. I respect your opinion, but according to me, I see RCA. Is RCA consider competent bidding to you?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, let me tell you something. I spoke to CJ.
Hold on. Is it considered a competent bezdin to you, Dibo?
Actually, absolutely not.
Why?
The reason why, because I'm gonna tell you why. Because they're representing only a woman and they are feminists. Number one. Number two, any man call them, they don't help him. Number three, I spoke to CJ Glock, and they summons the Hazmana is about an email. They asking if whatever time, like friendly. If you're a court, you set time and date, and you allow the person to come to pick and choose, not to come. And if he doesn't come, if he refuses to come to you, you issue zero against him. You have to make a summon. I have a bunch of email.
You said that they told you to come. So if you don't come, then the issue is zero, which is a prohibition. It's a I'm trying to think of the English equivalent of a seruv. But the point is, though, is that if you don't come to them, aren't they entitled to send you a seruv?
No. They entitled if they do properly. If the survey 3 times with a proper time and date, if they give you the chance. And number one. Number two, they don't do that. Number two, they don't allow you to go to pick up a third party, Zabla, another bezdin. Halacha is very, very, very democratic. And now they're talking about the term of abuse and all this is all twisting fact for a lawyer. She's a lawyer and she's using the secular law in order to twist fact. I see it. I've been there.
Operates on a basis, and it's supposed to be transparent. Not every bezdin is transparent. The Rabbinical Council of America, from what I understand, is a transparent one, and they have a different system. So as far as how they operate, and I think even lawyers can operate in that system. So it's considered a respectable bezdin. So you had an issue with the RCA, is what you're saying on the radio tonight.
I asked their help and they refused to help, number one. And beside, I was in the Supreme Court and I could have all the paper. Any lawyer could look at it. You will see how the corruption, how the law is abused, especially when case is about Judaism, Jewish people. They're putting a lot of pressure, extortion, man, and they strip him all his power, everything.
Who's stripping men of the power? The RCA or the courts? Who are you talking?
No, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
The
That
Supreme
is
Court.
actually such a common misconception, and it's really not the case in the legal system today. But I'm only mentioning it because a lot of people think that's how it works, and it really does not.
People say that some men say that, that the courts are stacked against men in today's climate. So I'm sure you've heard that before, Yael, right?
Definitely heard that all the time, but I've spent time, in family court, in Supreme Court, and it's really not the case. That's not what's happening on the ground. And it's an outdated understanding of how courts work. Almost every case is joint custody. It's rare to see something different. And so just that the reality on the ground is so different from what a lot of people have heard and a lot of people expect. Because people have this idea that women get everything they want in court, so men can use the get. And the premise is flawed because it really doesn't work that way.
Actually, the get is Hashem protection to a family, to a man to hold the get, to protect his right.
Hold on, you
And
think
if
that
the woman,
should a man, Dibo, withhold a get to his wife? Is that
no, not withholding. Hold the get, meaning he should go to a bezdin. the proper way to go to a bezin. We are a Jew. If you don't want to get, you don't marry according to Jewish law, period. You don't want to get married. You don't want to keep you don't want, you have a problem with the get issue. Don't marry according to Jewish law.
Well, in fact, there is a get law in New York. Keshet, how do the courts deal with a get as part of the divorce proceedings?
Very difficult to deal with it because of the First Amendment and the separation between church and state. The first get law essentially says that if you're the person that filed for divorce, then you have to give a get before it's all over. But if you're not the person that filed, it doesn't apply. So a court's ability to intervene is pretty limited because it begins to cross over into matters of religious doctrine, religious law that the court really can't get into. And that's why the social piece and the communal piece is so critical, because the American court system can only do so much on this issue. We really, as a community, need to step up and make sure that we're sending a social message about what we're okay with and what we're not. And what I think everything that we've just been hearing is a very sad twisting of Jewish values and Jewish theology, that we don't want to see our kids learn that, and we don't want to see that perpetuated into the next generation.
We're sitting with Dibo Jeff Hafif. He's whether it's 17 years or 9 years, has refused to give his wife a Jewish divorce, and he's initiated a lawsuit against a group of rabbis and community leaders. Keshet Starr Esquire is the CEO of the organization for the resolution of Agunot. It's called ORA. And you listen to us here on the Talkline network over WSNR WVIP 93.5 FM HD.
Listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
We're back. Our guest is Dibo Jeff Hafif. He's for either 9 years or 17 years, depending how you look at it, has not given his wife a Jewish religious divorce. He's now suing a group of rabbis and community leaders. Keshet Starr Esquire is the CEO of the organization for the resolution of Agunot, which is called ORA. Dibo, before we have a lot of people waiting to speak to you, but let me ask you this question. So you said you'd be willing to give your wife, Evet Ballas, a Jewish divorce if she goes to court. What else would she have to do in order for you to grant a divorce? Because let's see if we get a resolution on the air tonight. So what else would she have to do?
She have to choose her beit din, or she could come, call me anytime if she's interested. I'm willing to sit down and straighten everything out. She know what the damage she caused. She knows the truth.
Wait, so you're saying, though, does she have to give you monetary compensation for damage? What are you seeking? In other words,
first, let her fix the problem that she created with my children for 17 years. I don't see my children. That she alienate the whole system and abuse the system, and she stripped my children away, and she brainwashed them. That's the biggest issue that I'm worried about.
So how can you? So if she goes to a bezin, so how could that be resolved? If you say for 17 years she brainwashed the kids, if that's your position is, so how do you get compensated for that? What are you seeking?
What I'm seeking, let my children know the truth about what she did, and I have it proven and evidence. I have it. It's not like I don't have it.
I wanted to say to her children that she withheld them from you. Okay, what else would you want from her?
To return my premarital house that she stole from me.
And what else?
That's it.
So
what's belonged to me?
You want your house that you say belonged to you before you got married, and you want her to say to the children that she was wrong.
She abused me. She pulled a knife on me, and she did a lot of damage to me. So
it sounds like I'm just saying, and maybe Keshet, it just sounds to me here that these are that if looking to resolve and give a get, these are issues which I don't think is going to be so easily resolvable based on what you just said. But Keshet, let me get your input, and then we'll take some phone calls.
So there's always multiple perspectives to any situation. And what's dangerous is to say, I'm going to be the judge and jury. I'm going to decide who's in the right and who's in the wrong. I'm going to decide what you owe me, and I'm going to hold the get hostage until all of that is determined. That's not how we ever want to resolve problems. There are neutral third parties that can make determinations. There are a lot of reasons a child might not be seeing a parent. There could be any number of other explanations to that. And again, a question of who owns a home, that's an evidence-based question that a neutral third party needs to analyze. We
On
can't
the home, yes, but let me
hold
ask
the
you
get
that,
hostage.
because I listen, I hear lots of men that withhold giving a get to their wives, but I also hear situations where, and I've come across men that actually have given the get even, but yet they not able to see their kids. So you have on one side, you have the withholding the get, you also have on the other side withholding the children. That's an issue too. We can't just neglect that.
It's a terrible issue. And that's, again, where you need neutral third parties, because there are situations, unfortunately, where there's child abuse, there's sexual abuse, there are reasons why access is limited. And again, I can't sit here, from my, home office and decide whether this person should see their kids or not. I'm not looking at the evidence, but we have to do the best we can with the systems that we have to make fair determinations, because there are sometimes good reasons why access is limited. And there's a lot of rhetoric around parental alienation that does not generally match the statistics of how often this happens and of why this happens. And it is not easy to lose access to kids in the court system, actually, in a lot of situations. So again, the idea in the world of what happens and what really happens, there's often a significant gap there.
Okay, let's take, go ahead, Dibo.
Let me answer her. First of all, she abused me in a court system through a lot of people, through a lot of rabbis, through a lot of things. And beside, I could prove that she abused my children and she alienated them. I'll give you an example. She arrested me and she went.
If that's the case, why did the courts give custody to her, if that's the case?
Because the court based on corruption, and they want to destroy family. They're not interested to see Jewish family and growing Jewish family.
Are you saying it's anti-Semitism on behalf of the courts?
Not really. But they're interested when they have a Jewish couple fighting in a court. They always abuse a man to drain him out and to put pressure on him. I could prove it to you. I could send you, for example, for one incident, my son, they claimed the RCA, I'm sorry, not the RCA, the kids, how you call, they claimed that I kicked my son. They wiped out. I filed million motion. The judge didn't even look. I prejudge. Technically, it took 7 years to get divorced, just to drain me out and to destroy me. And they're using the system in order to get the get. And therefore, the more damage done to the man, the more he's sick and he become harder and not giving the get.
But would you admit that you're withholding the get in order to get what you want?
No, I don't admit that. I want to go according to halacha, and I married according to Jewish law. And I would like to respect the ketubah that I had, and I accept upon myself. I didn't marry a wife to arrest me 9 times for no reason. I didn't marry a wife to strip me my children, and definitely I'm not a sperm donor. My name is not a sperm donor. That's number one. And best of all,
What does that have to do with anything?
That's mean is a lot of women, they get pregnant and they get children and they want to isolate the father and they eliminate the father from their life. I give you an example. What about if my wife has a problem? She was sexually abused with her father when she was 13 years old. Do I have to pay the price for all her problems?
But then you have to go for counseling, or when you were married, you would have to go for
I'm
counseling.
canceling. No, she's a liar. She's a manipulative liar, number one. And number two.
But go ahead. But in other words, what we're trying to do, and one of the reasons why I have you on, and I know that you're getting some media, but I also want to see if it's possible, and I'm not sure if we're able to pull this off, to see that maybe there can be some sort of reconciliation. Because listen, withholding a get, and I spoke to a divorced man today who said he had a horrible, divorce situation, but he didn't withhold the get because he didn't feel it's right from a halakhic point of view to withhold the get from his wife, even though they have lots of issues to resolve. And I assume they resolved it or going to resolve it. But the get, what the position is, as you were hearing tonight, is the get should not be used as a weapon to get concessions from your ex-wife, and I'm talking not just you, I'm talking in lots of other cases, it should not be used as a weapon. And
It's not a weapon. This is not a weapon. Is following the halacha. If any other man want to be generous, you want to give his right, good luck to him. Good luck to him. This is my right. She stripped me. She bothered me. You know, like, is not a holding. She summoned me to Bezin. How come she didn't come in 2007? Or Bezin.
To defend herself, but there must be some reasons here. But what I want to do, B, was I want to take a lot of people waiting to speak to both of
But
you.
let me add one thing. According to halacha, when someone loses in a court and, is not entitled to come to another Bezin.
Well, in the Bezin, if you lose in a Bezin and the Bezin rules against you, you can't appeal the ruling of a Bezin here, but in Israel you can, but not in America. That's what
No, you can't. No, you can't.
from what I've been told. But
Okay, no.
okay, let's take some phone calls. Let's go to Chaim in Brooklyn. Chaim in Brooklyn, you've been patiently waiting. Your question or comment for our guest. Go ahead, Chaim.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call, and thank you for bringing this challenging and important issue to the forefront. And either way you look at it, it's very sad.
It is very sad.
I have a question, two actually, for Mrs. Starr. When we're dealing with a situation when, let's say someone is withholding a get or something like that, and we want to help the woman make sure that she's not unfairly hurt or abused, what are the series of steps I'd like to know that ORA takes to really make sure that she's not doing the wrong thing, that she's not, we spoke a lot about alienation, that she's not actively withholding the children. And, it's not just a guy who's trying to be manipulative and say, give me, $10 million, but he really just wants to be able to see the children or something like that. What are the steps that ORA uses in a situation like that?
Very good question. Go ahead, Keshet.
Definitely. So we have lots of people calling us at various stages in the process. We will guide anyone who calls us. When it comes to our advocacy cases, these are cases where we might be having a demonstration. There is a pretty extensive vetting process. We need some sort of a based-in history. We run that based-in history by our own Rabbanim so that we as an organization are okay with going forward on that case. We always reach out to the party that's not cooperating with the get. We give them multiple opportunities to share their perspective. They might pick up the phone and curse us out and hang up, but that's their choice. We give them many chances to share their side. We speak to everyone involved, family members, Rabbanim, the grocery delivery guy, anyone who will get on the phone with us. We want to hear their perspective. And we always try the most amicable resolution strategies first. So you are never going to see us take on a case and be having a rally a week later. We go through an extensive process. We try everything we possibly can to resolve it in a lower stress, lower intensity way.
But Keshet, the point is, I just reiterate, because there are some women who do withhold the children when they shouldn't do so. They alienate the children's affection for the father. So that's something which we also have to. And the question was about how to vet it, and it's an issue. Just like a get shouldn't be withheld.
It's a challenge, and I think the question.
Do you specifically speak to the father first to hear his side, and do you specifically, do you have an unequivocal rule that you won't help a woman get a get if she's withholding the children, or not necessarily?
So again, one of the challenges here is that people use these terms a lot. What do they actually mean? And who decides if it's formally happening or not? If there's a kidnapping, for example, and this happens, there are kidnapping litigations, there are hate convention litigations. When someone kidnaps a child to another country, we won't actively advocate on a case where a child has literally been kidnapped, just because, again, strategically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. However, people throw out the term a lot. She's not letting me see my kids. Again, there are often many perspectives, and we can't determine, again, who is going to determine whether that's happening, whether that's not happening. That is a pretty sensitive determination that a lot of people have different takes on, and that courts rarely make a unilateral ruling on, other than their custodial ruling, that you can tell what they think based on what they rule custody wise. But again, to use the get as the tool to decide that question, that opens up so many dangerous possibilities. And one thing I want to say here, which is so important, I am not saying that if someone gives a get, everything is going to go awesome for them later and they're going to end up with a wonderful settlement. I can't promise that. But I truly believe in every fiber of my being that giving the get when the marriage is over is the right thing to do. We're Jews. We believe that when we do the right thing, there is an ultimate reward that comes from that. And also, withholding a get is so destructive to the animosity of the divorce that it can often lead to everyone doing really bad things that they shouldn't be doing. So yes, using children as pawns, not okay. I see it so often that one person threatens the get and someone else holds the kids and someone else freezes the bank accounts. And it turns into this cycle of destruction that is ultimately devastating for everyone involved, and mostly for the children because they have the least voice in the process. So we want to see people resolve issues fairly and healthily, and the children shouldn't be the carbon in these conflicts, and they deserve fair, neutral third parties to make these calls when parents can't.
Right. So I just want to get this on record here. The guy should give the get unequivocally upfront, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's unequivocal. Her giving the kids, that's not unequivocal. That's iffy. That you're not clear about. You have to go to the court. That's what I'm understanding. That's the official policy of ORA. If I'm understanding it correctly.
Not necessarily. Again, when it comes to our advocacy cases, for us to advocate on a specific case, there is a process that we will go through. What we might think in general, do I feel in general that it's best for a get to be given when the marriage is over? Absolutely.
But you can't say it on the record that you will necessarily not help a woman, period, if she's withholding the kids. No ifs, ands, or buts. You don't have that same.
Again, there's no official on the record because there is no clear definition as to what that means and if that's happening. There are different takes on what's happening in every single case.
So it's
Hold on. Can you see any case, Keshet? Can you see any case where a man should withhold a get because of whatever the action the other side, the woman, is doing?
It should never be, I think, in the husband's own determination. In extreme situations, so say a kidnapping, the get should be held in escrow until that, criminal behavior has paused. And so again, there are always going to be extreme situations, but the problem is that if you open a loophole, everyone thinks the loophole applies to them. And just from a policy level, it's not good policy because it leads to a lot of cases that end up again in just these terrible destructive places that didn't have to go that way.
And finally, 30 seconds, we have a lot of people waiting to speak to our guests.
Thank you so much. One last question here. There are situations where I know where the guy definitely was an idiot and we needed to help the woman receive her get, and ORA helped out and petitioned and rallied, but they also hurt a lot of other innocent people in the process, such as a sibling of the guy who was actually against them, and they rallied against outside her house and caused profound humiliation. I don't think there's any basis in that in halacha. I don't think if Schachter would have condoned that or any competent Yerei Shamayim. So let's deal with that.
Again, we do not rally at anyone's home without a lot of communication, or at least our attempts to have communication with them, giving them opportunities, saying this is exactly what we would need from you to not do it.
Hold on one second.
So again, that's how we do things.
Hold on. The question that I think, Keshet, is do you rally against not just the person who refuses to give a get to his wife, but also other family members as well, in addition to the recalcitrant husband?
If they're actively supporting them.
If they're actively supporting them.
I know a case where the woman was so upset at her father for not giving a get that she cut off all ties from him. She was vehement, and they tried rallying outside her home just to bully her for something that she didn't do.
So that's not how we do things. So again, we could argue semantics, but that's not our policy. That's not how we do things.
These are things that ORA did blatantly against halacha.
Okay, well, if it was a family member who opposed the father's decision not to give a get, then would be something wrong. And I agree with you on that. We're going to have to move on. We have a lot of people waiting to speak to our guest. Let's go to Yossi in Brooklyn. Go ahead, Yossi. You have to lower your radio. Go ahead, Yossi.
Yes, I closed it off. Okay, let me just explain to you something. First of all, he's absolutely right, the guy, about the ACS. I can't say he's right about everything. I'm just saying in the ACS, they use the ACS, they call different people, and they get involved. I was involved in that. I should have taken Catholic charities. I'm going to tell you something. I'm back together with my wife. I'm on the radio. People know my voice. I'm not ashamed to come on. I bucked the system. I beat the system. I shut up. The Rabban said they never saw such a person. I'm going to tell you something. Uva and this Keshet, they don't know the understanding of what a get is. If they look in Shulchan Aruch, There's a reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu gave a get. Are you saying that Hashem didn't know what he was doing when he said the man has the power of the get?
So,
What are you
Yossi,
telling me?
so what is your question?
So the question is, first of all, what is the get then? What is the reason the get is in the man's hands? Why is there a get in the man's hands to begin with? How do I listen? This one said, I to give a get. This one, I'm today married, back with my wife, having Pesach Seder with my children the last few years, and all the people that hear it, they thought, oh, well, you're divorced. I said, no, I'm as married as the day I got married. I went through a thing. They don't wait till it's all over. People
So what
don't have
happened? You
patience.
were forced to give it. You wanted to give it.
Nothing. They wanted. Nobody could force me to do nothing. Never knows.
So what?
me.
So
I'm a
what? So
tough
what
guy.
was? What is your
Nobody's
story?
gonna do nothing because I know the learning too. The person that he said you used that a guy. Oh, the guy gave a get. So he gave a get. He doesn't know his rights. A lot of men gave gets without knowing their rights. Do you know that? So, oh hell. Speaking about Mansour, was there with another Rav who I'm very good friends with, a very chashuv Rav. I don't want to mention his name. He said he should not even come. Okay? So the bottom line is the system. There's one in the Gaisha world. There's on the radio on WABC. They advertise for the men for divorce. All the things are against men. I have a friend of mine who wanted to get divorced, and he said he found out that he's going to lose everything that he worked for, so he stayed married. You understand? One of the only reasons I went back with my wife is because I want all my children back. Do you understand what it means to win all your children? They put them in the system, ACS, the MISA, there was Masira, okay? And they gave my wife wrong information. And today, Baruch Hashem, I'm back.
Well, thank God that Yossi, that you're back happily married. I hope.
No, I'm not happily married. I did it I'll tell you, I don't care if my wife hears me. I did it for one reason. So I have my children. A man, when he goes out of the house and they push him out of the house, he loses his relationship with his children. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm telling you the facts in most cases.
Yossi, I do hope that your marriage improves if you're back
No,
together.
I don't want to improve it. You don't understand. I do not want, and my marriage is perfect as it could be. I have a good relationship with my wife.
Good.
But the fact is, that whoever's listening knows me. I'm getting calls now on my phone. And I'm telling you the fact. I hold all the places, Keshet, there is a power of a man having a get. If I didn't have the power to get, I would not be happily married with grandchildren today and have relationships with all my children. If you want, you could do a program on me and take all my 8 children and find out about it.
All
What do
right.
you say to that?
Anyway, I appreciate you,
No,
and
but I'm
I
trying to
appreciate
tell
you're
you.
able to
So the
speak about your situation.
The Rabban, no, but I know halacha too. That's the reason. I know halacha and the Masadish Torah. Okay? And the fact is, and I learned with big people. Okay? Reb Chaim Kanievsky's son-in-law. I'm just going to tell you something, that this man, I'm not saying he's right to not be after so many years, but I know it has something to do with years. If he was wrong, and I understand him. Sometimes it's unfortunate we can't bring back those years. You understand?
I appreciate
And
your call.
sometimes
Yossi, we're going to have to run. I
grow
have a
up.
lot of people went, but Yossi,
Well,
thank you.
sometimes the children will grow up and they will realize after who really conned them. I'm not saying against the one, it's unfortunate that 2 people got married, but why take away what Hashem gave to the man, to the family, that they should be able to straighten out without people mixing in?
I agree with that. People, we would love to see more things straightened out.
That's right. And ORA, how they have a right. They don't go for the men. They never help
Anyway,
the men now.
Yossi, I appreciate your call. We're going to have to run off because the clock is ticking, but I appreciate your phone. But thank you. A good luck to you, and thank you. Quick question before we break, and I'm getting some emails about that. Is there any rabbinic leadership that guides the ORA organization?
Yes, there's very extensive rabbinic leadership, both in terms of our own organization and also in working within different communities. And again, obviously there's a lot of views, and I do have to run, but there are obviously a lot of views about the get, about what it should be, what there was given to the man to be in his power. The halacha is really that it has to be willingly given, willingly received. So it's not as one-sided as it's being made out to be. And again, when a get is used in this way, it is a terrible chilul Hashem, a terrible violation of halacha. When someone is a get refuser on an ORA case, that means they're in violation of what the Beis Din has ordered. And it's a perversion of Jewish values in the deepest sense. And we will never be a healthy and whole community if this is how we look at things.
May I ask a question, Keshet? May I ask you a question?
If it's very short, because I
Yeah,
have to jump off.
I have
No
to say,
problem.
longer than she said.
How come how come not yeshivas rabbis support you? Black hat rabbis support you?
There are a wide range of rabbis that support us, including yeshivish ones.
Give me a name.
I'm happy to share names with you afterwards, and you can also peruse our website, which is very easily accessible.
Okay,
so
no problem.
I am going to need
I
to hop off, but sorry, Rabbi Brenner, please finish up.
Now, saying what is the website that people can get more information? If they want to contact you, because people call you.
Absolutely. It's www.getora.org.
And one more time, it's get what?
It's www.getora, so get and ora.org. So you can find us there. And if anyone needs assistance or support, they can find us there as well. And people are always welcome to reach out with questions. I will say for myself personally, I respond to respectful questions. I don't respond so much to disrespectful ones, but I'm always happy to engage in dialogue. And these are hard issues. And I think certainly when it comes to children, it's not simple. I believe what I believe because I've seen hundreds of cases play out, but that doesn't make them simple issues. And there's obviously a tremendous amount of pain in divorce and a tremendous amount of loss and anxiety and stress. And all of that comes into this process. And our goal is that people get out of this as quickly and as fairly as possible so they can move on and find new partners and build happy and healthy Jewish homes, because that's what we're really all about, I think, in our community.
Keshet Starr, Esquire, the CEO of the Organization for the Resolution of Agunot. Thank you for joining here with us on our broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thank you. And we're going to continue our conversation with the one who initiated a lawsuit against Rabbanim and leaders. I'm referring to Dibo Jeff Hafif, for whether it's 9 or 17 years, has not given his wife a Jewish divorce.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. Our guest for the next little while is Dibo Jeff Hafif. He is, either for 9 or 17 years, has not given his wife a Jewish divorce, and he's initiated a lawsuit against some rabbis and community leaders. And by the way, I think I see your name, Heshi Tishla, is one of them. How does Heshi Tishla get involved in this whole situation?
He just came and incite all the riot and making more problem without know what's going on, without checking if I have a siruv against me or not. He came and he making a big balagan in front of my house without knowing me that I have 4 siruvim against my wife. I don't know how.
But you also suspecting the police officers too, right?
Yes, because a police officer, I called them numerous of times. Imagine people come, 1,000 people come outside your house with the speakers, screaming, throwing eggs, throwing stone, and going to the backyard, pampering with all the air condition. Call the police, they sit in their car, and they're all writers, they agree, and they admit that, the police doing nothing. They've been instructed by the Shomrim, by the way. The Shomrim tell them not to intervene. And the Shomrim came to support illegal act. It was done after 8:30 p.m. and they stay until 2:30 in the morning.
Well, do you have a lawyer or you're representing yourself in this case?
Of course, I represent myself in this case.
Let's take some phone calls. Let's go to Aryeh in Flatbush. Thank you for patiently waiting. Go ahead, Aryeh in Flatbush.
Okay, hi. I did want to. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Aryeh. You're on the radio.
I did want to confront this woman, but she unfortunately.
Her name is Keshet Starr. So let's be civil.
Oh, I don't know who. I didn't catch the name. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to confront her because I felt that I want to confront you actually also. Because I felt that she lied when she said it's impossible to ascertain cases where the children are being withheld or there are other circumstances. That is patently false. If the wife goes to Beis Din to request a get and there's no allegations of child abuse, and then her first move to coerce the husband, well, she doesn't go to Beis Din. She just wants a get, and her first move, without making any allegations of child abuse, is to manipulate the kid, which I've seen in the past. I know a case of that. The first move was to alienate the kids, to coerce. Okay, that is a case where it's obvious, because there were no allegations of child abuse, and the first move, it's not a response, so there's no a chance for circumstances to arise, but it's patently obvious. That's number one. Number two, you, Zev, accused him of weaponizing a get. I think you didn't listen to the man. When he said that that the Beis Din absolved the get at first because she was rebellious, that is not that's the Beis Din making a determination. That's the opposite of weaponizing a get. Okay, this was done according to this man more than once. Okay, so when you say that's a very heavy allegation to make. Now, I want to say something about the kids. First of all, when you inflict damage on something, there's two issues here. There's damages and credibility. If you're going to allege as part of the request of a get, I'm an attorney, by the way, so that's why I'm talking like this. If you're going to say that there was spousal abuse, and then you have him arrested 9 times for nothing, okay, your credibility is shot. Okay, that means that you could be making up the whole thing. So those extraneous circumstances are part of the determination whether there should be a get. Maybe you're lying. You're saying this man deserves to be arrested 9 times. Okay, that's number one. Number two, damages. You put somebody in jail 9 times. He's in risk of his life. He's in mortal dread of his life with all kinds of elements like that. That is actionable. Okay, and that also becomes damages. When you come to the court, everything has to be considered. You can't sever, you can't destroy a man and then ask for a get. Alaluta the halacha. The halacha says that the Mishnah says that when 2 men are fighting, if a female grabs the genitalia of one man, her hands are to be cut off. That means you're not allowed to emasculate a man.
That's a financial. That's a financial penalty that we're talking about. Yes.
Okay, whatever it is, you're not allowed. Well, it sounds pretty literal to me. You're not allowed to emasculate
an
a
eye
man.
An eye for an eye is not an eye for an eye. It's
I
also
know that.
Okay.
That I know. But I'm saying, be that as may, you're not allowed to emasculate a man and say, "Oh no, that's not part of the get process." Okay, if you damage somebody, you got to pay, and you can't sever. You can't sever.
So let me. First of all, Jeff, are you willing to be a lawyer for Dibo? Sound like you're his advocate.
I would love to. I want to tell you, Eli Mansour is a mafia. If he knows nothing about getting, what the hell is he doing over there?
That's what Dibo is saying. I haven't spoken to Rabbi Eli Mansour. I'd be happy
first.
To defend himself.
First, I have a recording I don't want to release of Rabbi Mansour, and I'm respecting, and I wish that he will do the right thing before we go further. And then, what's your name, sir, that you online? I really appreciate your support, and I think you know what you're talking about, that more Jewish, they don't know what the heck is going on. They just talk about anything, and they don't have no respect to Allah.
Why don't you tell me your name, and I'll contact you.
I'll give you my number. And by the way, my name is Dibo Hafif. My number 917-418-4837. And I just want to ask one thing. My wife attorney, it was Stephen Z. Mustavsky, the most corrupt lawyer on his time.
That's not.
No, I'm going to say it. I know it. I have the paper. I could show it. I could prove it. Unfortunately, he became a judge right now.
What's the last name? Halpern?
Hafif, H-A-F-I-F.
And give your phone number again so he can take it down.
917-418.
Yeah.
4837.
Okay, I think it's right. And also, you should be suing the showroom also because
I did. And by the way, today I was going to Shari Zion with my 3 children, and they throw me out.
On what grounds did they throw you out of Shari Zion today? Shari Zion.
I'm sorry. I don't hear you good.
I said, on what grounds were you thrown out of shul today?
I have no idea. They didn't tell me.
Okay.
They didn't tell me.
But Jeff, just to get to your point, the fact is, though, and you're right, is that the children should not be alienated from the father or vice versa, and it happens too often where there's no justifiable reason except that they're in the process of a divorce and the children are used as pawns, and it's done by men and done by women, in lots of cases by women, because they get custody of the children. But my position is, what I believe is that the children shouldn't be used as a pawn and the get shouldn't be used as a pawn. There has to be other ways of dealing with it, because let's look realistically.
I have some bad connection, Zev.
Yeah, Dibo is married with a second wife, which is fine, but his wife cannot get remarried. So I'm just looking at the total picture. What are you saying, Dibo?
And could I say, I have a problem with the recording. I can't hear it good.
Can you hear me now?
Is it like radio? It's like a radio.
It's like a radio. Okay. Are you have your radio on in the background?
No, I don't. It's off.
Okay, it's off. Okay, go ahead, Dibo.
Okay. I don't, 1 second. I'm wondering, my wife got a heter nesuin without receiving her get. I don't see one rabbi in the whole universe objecting it. How come?
Did she get remarried?
Forget about she gets remarried or not, but she received a heter nesuin from competent Rav, his name Rabbi Greenblatt.
I can't comment because we don't have Rabbi Greenblatt here, but you raised an interesting point. I don't have that.
You have Rabbi Briggs. You could, Rabbi Ephraim Briggs.
I know the name, but again, we haven't. He's not here, so you're saying things, but I don't have them to give to ascertain if it's true or not. They're not here at the moment. But I think Jeff. I think you have a deep. I think you have a lawyer now. Jeff is going to be a lawyer.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm Jeff. I'm not committing myself. My name's not Jeff, but thanks anyway.
All right, that's Aryeh from Flatbush.
I'm willing to help out. But I didn't say I'm going to take over the case. I'm willing to help out.
No problem. Thank you. Hashem with me. I have a prati.
You sound like a very decent guy, by the way. Okay.
But
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. Then I thank you for your phone call. And by the way, what we'd like just to see, and this is where my position is, I'd love to see Dibo give his wife a get and resolve the other issues. I'm sure there's always two sides to any conflict. But I'd love to see that, the get shouldn't be used as a holding or from withholding a get. Get should be given, that the other issues should be adjudicated in whatever way they can be adjudicated.
But Jeff, let me add to it. Is beautiful. I agree. But the question is, my wife took me to a secular court, and as a judge, she's a plaintiff and she wanted a divorce. And we were going for 80 orders. I asked her, could you give me the, judgment of divorce, like degree of divorce? She said, before we finishing everything, I cannot do it. So they get exactly the same thing. The get is bill of divorce. Won't be given until everything is finalized.
You have a secular divorce or no?
Of course, 2013.
So you have a secular divorce, but
of course.
How can we? So let me ask you a question. So
yes,
you have issues to resolve before you will give the get. You want compensation for damages and for what your wife did, having you arrested, and for alienation of the children, is what you're saying. So why didn't that come up in this court when you got the secular divorce? Why is withholding the get as opposed to the secular divorce?
Because I was hoping that she will attend to a bezin and we finish the whole story. In 2009, and I give her the get, and I have it mashlish get. It was an escrow. The get was given. Is not the point of not giving the get. I was dating my current wife, the Eshet Chayil, the best woman in the world, and I don't want to lose her. And I say to my wife, I send her a message: the get is ready. Choose your own bezin. Let's finish. Let's move on. She's not interested. If a woman is not interested, it's not my problem.
Again, she's not here, but I'm hoping that you can resolve this, because I'm sure you want to get on with your life, right?
100%. But the get is a koret lekol davar. That's a get.
Supposed to be the end of hopefully the end of the process. And again, you want to move on with your life. And I'm sure, let me ask you this question before I take the next caller. How did you feel with people demonstrating and calling you names? So what somebody told me when I put you on the air, it's like putting Hitler on the air. So you have, I think your reputation has gone through.
I'll tell them these people lo olim gehinnom and en lahem chelek la'olam haba.
Okay, let's go to Deal, New Jersey. And thank you, Jacob, for waiting over 43 minutes to be on the air. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Yeah, I am calling from the Get Busters organization. We have a saying in the SY community. It says, don't be a Dibo. Thank you very much.
Let me answer him. Could I answer him?
Yes, go ahead. He waited 43
He answered me. He tried to call me a name. Dibo is a bear in Arabic. He's so idiot, this person, because nobody will call his son Dibo. Dibo is a Zev. Zev is a wolf. Wolf is the finest animal that you could ever, is honesty, integrity. Zev is something unbelievable. If you have any idea what he's talking about, you don't call a name. But calling a name, it's Elo Chelek La'olam Haba. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're speaking with Dibo and Jeff Hafif. He has not given his wife a get.
I give the get, but the rabbi retract. Null and void. I give.
She doesn't have the get right now.
I give. Hashem doesn't want her to have. It's not me.
But you're saying, let me ask, can she pick up the get right now without?
So man, I'm going to give it the same answer, okay? There is a Chana Taub. Have you ever heard about Word of Roses? Is established 2005. No, it's not a movie. It's not a movie. About a couple by name Simon and Chana Taub.
They lived in the same house and they had a wall between them.
Right. Okay. The wife sued the husband in 2005 for divorce, but the jury found her ground were not proven, so they didn't divorce her. Could any Jewish people go to the judge and ask her, how come you don't issue a divorce? Why you don't give a civil divorce? That's a judge ruling.
So are you the War of the Roses?
No, I'm not saying I'm a war of a fire. I mean, in hell for 15 years, 17 years.
Okay, we are speaking with Dibo Jeff Hafif, and he has, as you heard, he says that let me ask this quick question before we. So, if your wife were to go to bed, she cannot pick up the get because you have other conditions, correct?
There is no condition. I never put any condition.
You said before you want damages for the alienation of the children.
I will ask. No. You ask me the question. I will ask more than that. Whatever is belong to me and according to halacha, I will ask for it. But there's no condition. There's no condition. And by the way, the person who called, his name is Abe Manopla. He's the one. Okay. No, I'm just telling you, he's the one who initiate all the riot, and he asked people to throw eggs on me.
Well, people
and I call him up. I call him up to rectify the whole situation, to make him understand, but he refused and he ignored my phone call. I call him and I call another guy by name is what's his name? Betesh, Murray Betesh. And they think is a mitzvah to give a get to the wife. Is a mitzvah to give a get to your wife. What about you give a get to, let him give a get to his wife? And this guy, Manopla, I think he admit that he's a crackhead. He taking crack. I never smoked.
Hold on. Let's not call people names. Let's not attack.
He admitted.
But that's not germane to our discussion. Listen, they shouldn't call you names. And the purpose of, like I said, of this broadcast is to try to come to some sort of resolution, which I don't think we're going to be able to do, at least on this sitting, but at least we're going to try. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be back after these messages. To the Talkline Network here on WSNR 620 on the AM dial.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Now we're back. Dibo Jeff Hafif is our guest. He has not given his wife. He said the get is in the bezin, but his wife has not gotten the get, and he is suing a whole group of people, including Rabbanim and leaders and Shomrim and police. We're going to take one or two more calls. Let's go to Yoel in Passaic, New Jersey. Yoel, you have a question or comment for our guest? Go ahead.
It's just a comment for our guest. I'm well aware of his case. I support him full and through. I think a lot of from the man's perspective, we hear oftentimes that the man is the evil one for not giving the get, and I think there needs to be more of a dialogue as to why the man is not giving the get. It's not like a man is trying to purposely, be this evil person. I think we have a real tragedy and pandemic, really is the word I want to use, in our frum communities, where many, and it works both ways, many men and women alienate their children from each other.
True.
And I think I think that needs to be the focus. Let's not use children to weaponize each other. And I'll tell you one thing: if alienation were to not take place, that's going to solve the quote unquote get problem. And on that one topic, I do want to add that I could tell you, one case, the Amber Adler case. This lady ran for councilwoman in this past election, Brooklyn District 48. For example, this lady herself has been alienating the two boys from their father.
We don't have facts. I don't want to get involved because I personally, I know Amber Adler. I don't know her situation, but to say that she's alienated her kids, we don't have her in front of here to dispute that. And there's always two sides to a story, as you just said. But I will agree with you that men and women shouldn't alienate their kids, and I believe men should not withhold giving a get, and women should not withhold the affection and visitation of their children. It's a problem. Divorce is a major problem.
But this man who you have as a guest, he's been smeared as a get withholder. How is that a fair? Why is that fair in our community that we you just said you don't know the facts about the Amber Adler case. Do we know any facts about any of these men who refuse to give a get, or do we just take everyone's word that he's a get withholder?
Because listen, the fact is, though, in over 9 years or 17 years, his wife hasn't gotten the get. So that's the fact. So you can say that he has a reason for doing so, but but that's what I'm saying. So we finally get to hear his story. So for 17 years, there's a reason why that happened. And which he's explained why, but like we said, you don't want alienation of kids. It's just my position that it shouldn't be alienation of a get. But thank you for your
Could I add one thing on him? I really appreciate your support, but I believe the Beis Din, the only place that they could decide if I was upholding or not. That's the only Beis Din will decide, not us.
Anyway, thank you for your phone call, and we literally have about 2 minutes. I want to squeeze in one last phone call. So let's go to Ike in Brooklyn. You have a quick question or comment. Ike, are you there? Okay, if Ike's not there, then we'll just close out. We have about a moment or so left. So listen, we appreciate you being here on the air with us, Dibo. I know there are a lot of issues here, but I do hope that your wife does get a get, and I hope that you can resolve the issues. But I don't want to see anybody chained. You're married. I like if your wife has an opportunity to get married, her first wife gets the opportunity to remarried. I think it's important. But and hopefully this show will help facilitate that. Maybe there can be some meeting of the minds as far as the get being served on your wife taking the get, and whatever other issues you have should be resolved through a third party.
I thank you for your host, and I wish, and I'm requesting for all the Rabbanim to do the right thing and to solve this one as soon as possible. And I'm open to do everything the right way. So I'm not looking to harm anyone, and I'm not doing it viciously, and I'm not abusing the system, but I'm trying to protect my right because nobody come and protect me.
Dibo, you said your piece. We had, I think, an important conversation, and I want to keep the lines of communication open. And really, that's so important to have the lines of communication open. We don't always agree, but I believe that we should be. You know what? I'm going to take 30-second. Ike, you called before, and I know we got disconnected. So Ike from Brooklyn, 30-second comment to or question. Yes, Ike, 30 seconds. I guess we're not going to do. Anyway, Dibo, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we can get this resolved. I want next time we speak to you on the air, which will be very soon. I want to hear that your wife has got.
That's what you worry about. What about my children?
And listen. I said all the issues should be resolved too. I don't.
Okay, Beis Din, I'm available.
Children in a divorce. Period. I think parents have a responsibility to say, listen, we're getting divorced, but you have to have a relationship with the other parent. I think it's both for men and women that's how it should be done.
And I believe the ORA, they never support any man, and they never publicize any man on their website. And they have, any woman, and they are a feminist group that work for money, and they get a lot of fund, and their job to destroy Jewish family. And that's what they do.
They want to destroy Jewish family, but I think they are supporting the rights of women. Listen, there are a lot of women who are getting a raw deal in the get situation. Let's be frank about it.
Let's go to Beis Din.
Men who get a raw deal in the withholding of the children, but both should be condemned. And we're out of time, but I thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a Shavuot Tov.
Thank you. And you're listening to the Talkline Network here on WSNR 620 AM.